Have you ever wondered what happened to Japanese people during the Pearl Harbor bombing? The Japanese launched their airplanes in two waves, approximately 45 minutes apart. In the book, there is a quote that states, "When your mother or father are having a fight, do you want them to kill each other or do you just want them to stop fighting?" This is what the main character's father said when he was being questioned by an American soldier. Because the American soldier asked him if he wanted America to win the war, if he wanted Japan to win the war. The father didn't want either of the countries to win because he didn't want the war to happen in the first place, because they're both his home. He was born in Japan and he grew up in America, so he didn't want the war to happen in the first place. Many people in the audience may have felt this way before because it's always hard to choose between two things when you don't want something to happen. The book I am talking about is Farewell to Manzanar. The author is Janine Wakasuki and James Hostin. This is a non-fiction book. This book takes place in December 7th, 1941, during the Pearl Harbor bombing, when Japan attacked. It took place in Manzanar, California. This book is about Jeannie and her family being forced out of their homes, but managing to stay together through discrimination, Americans, and themselves. As time passed, they start to separate from each other while trying to survive their new environment, the Manzanar camps. The main character is Jeannie Wakasuki. She is the youngest in the Wakasuki family and the father's favorite. She is observant, quiet, lonely, and an outcast. Because she is Japanese, her goal is to fit in with the other American kids at her school. She is short with long black hair and pale skin. My opinion on the book is that it's really educational. It talks about a lot of historical moments, such as the Pearl Harbor bombing, but it also talks about what Japanese people during that time in America had to go with, which you don't really see that perspective. When you think about the Pearl Harbor bombing, you just think about, oh, what's America doing? Or, oh, what's people in Japan doing? And you don't really get the perspective of what's happening with the Japanese people in America that live in America, but they can't become citizens because they're Japanese. The book is really cultural, and it does teach you a lot about the culture of Japan and what they think, or how they're supposed to think, rather, and how they talk. And they'll even teach you some Japanese words in the book. They'll say the word is written there, and then it'll translate into English so you know what you're reading or what you're saying during that time. But the book is really good, in my opinion, because I like the Asian culture. That's one of my favorite cultures. So reading this book really enlightened me on certain things. The most exciting part of the book was when Jeannie's father was getting questioned by an American soldier. This was mostly because we got to see more of what he thought about the whole situation. And in the story, there was a lot of tension in the room, and you could just feel it when you're reading the book. It's pretty amazing because in all the questions he was being asked, it's just like, why would you ask this question? What does this question have to do with anything? Because the soldier would ask, which country do you think is better, America or Japan? Or would you serve in the army? Even though he's like 35 years old, but okay. It was a pretty cool concept for her to fit in the questions that he was asked, because some of the questions were serious, and like an example of a serious question was, would you serve the American army if you were asked to? And there was just some silly questions like, do you think Americans better than Japanese? And that was just a cool concept, and it was pretty exciting for me. I recommend this book because it explains and talks about a lot of cultural things, Japanese-wise. It shows the hardship and racism Japanese people in America had to face during this time, and how Americans would treat Japanese people after the bombing. It also shows and explains different points of views during the Pearl Harbor bombing. So if you like history, or if you like memoirs about tragic events such as the Pearl Harbor bombing, but not so much focusing on the Pearl Harbor bombing, but how it affected people other than Americans, this is the book for you.